in terms of the public profile and credibility. The public debate is not at the point where they're ready and able to digest that point as yet, in my view. So, your turn. Thank you very much.
Cool. Excellent. So how's everyone doing this morning? Psyched to be here at the regional conference? Yeah. Awesome. So first off, I want to thank all the organizers, Kevin, Stacy, all the great students from BU, Northeastern. Everyone give a big round of applause. You know, organizing a conference, having done these at the national level for many years with SSDP and before that with Normal, certainly recognizing that organizing a conference involves way more work than most people realize. It's incredibly time-consuming. It can be incredibly physically and emotionally draining. So, really, a big thanks from all of us at the national organization to all of the organizers here. You've really done a great job, so you deserve thanks and respect from everybody who's attending this conference. You know, just 3 years ago, amazingly, we didn't have any SSDP chapters in Boston, which was frankly kind of embarrassing considering that the city has, I think, the highest concentration of colleges of any city in the country. And so we were actually able to use last year's decriminalization campaign as an excuse to try and get some chapters started in this area. We met with representatives from the Marijuana Policy Project 2 years before the initiative to talk about, you know, what could students do to help out the campaign? You know, could we help get out the vote or flyer? You know, what could we do? And they told us, yeah, we'd really love to see some student involvement in the campaign. So we sent our outreach director at the time up to Massachusetts for 2 weeks. To attempt to get some chapters started, and again, 3 years ago there were none, and after that trip, a number of chapters started to the point where I think we have 12 chapters in Massachusetts alone right now, which is really incredible. And you guys, all of you guys on the ground here, all of you guys who are involved in chapters in Massachusetts and the Boston area, you know the role that you played in helping decriminalize marijuana in this state. And yeah, so applause for all of you. And that outreach trip has actually become the model that we now use at SSDP nationally for proactive outreach. And we're currently working with MPP and DPA and the Open Society Institute, Americans for Safe Access, to find out, you know, where are you guys going to be running campaigns in the next couple of years. And if we know that, you know, for instance, if the MPP, you know, they might wind up running an initiative in Nevada in a couple of years, if they decide to go forward with that, you know, we're going to send an organizer to Nevada to get chapters up and get chapters started there in advance. And DPA is going to be doing their conference in Albuquerque later on this year. We're going to be sending one of our outreach directors to New Mexico later on, probably the beginning of the next semester, get some chapters started there so that they can turn out to the conference and mobilize a new network of students there. So we basically use Massachusetts as a model for proactive outreach, and it's something that we refer to at SSDP as sort of the foot soldier model. The model that, you know, SSDP is essentially we're the foot soldiers for the drug policy reform movement. That if any other organization in drug policy is going to be running a campaign, that they can come to us in advance. We'll help set up chapters, and those chapters will help do the on-the-ground work. They can do some of the, the envelope stuffing, the door-to-door campaigns, the canvassing, the get-out-the-vote efforts, all the stuff that they would normally have to search really hard for volunteers or paid activists or canvassers or whatnot. We can provide that to the movement. So we're providing essentially ground support for everybody else in drug policy. And we're also providing essentially a funnel for employment to the drug policy reform movement. And I think one of the best compliments I've received as ED at SSDP was from Rob Campy a few years ago when I first started at SSDP, or shortly after I started at SSDP, and he told me, even if you guys did a terrible job at the national level, we'd still continue to fund you because you're a pipeline for employment at MPP. And it's been true, I think, not only for MPP, but for DPA, for Americans for Safe Access, and of course at SSDP. Every one of our staff members at one point ran a chapter, probably served on the board. DPA's got numerous employees who have come through the SSDP network. MPP's got numerous employees who come through the SSDP network. Americans for Safe Access, their chief of staff, Rebecca Salzman, was an SSDP chapter leader, board member. So it's encouraging for all of you out here who are involved in chapters that if you really kick ass in your activism at the chapter level and you get involved at the state level, nationally, so forth, and you really prove yourself as a great student leader, a student activist, that you have an opportunity to work in drug policy reform for a living, which for those of us who've been privileged enough to do that, I can tell you it's a pretty good way to earn a living. Not too many people, people ask me, what do you do for a living? I legalize drugs. What, really? Yeah. And it's fun, and it's rewarding, and getting to come to conferences like these and work with you guys on a day-to-day basis and help provide these opportunities for the next generation of activists. It's a job that I can feel good about, getting up every day and going to, and I'm glad that we can provide all of you here with the opportunity to hopefully follow in my footsteps, Micah's and Tom and all the others who are here who've worked in drug policy professionally. I bet you that many of the faces that we see here are going to wind up following us, and you all will be the employees and executive directors of drug policy reform in the future. SSDP we're really as strong as our membership, and the number of students and the quality of activism that you guys, all of you here, produce on a day-to-day basis really shows how strong we are as an organization. We're very proud of the work that we do at the national level. We're very proud of our legislative efforts. We're proud of the work that we do on a day-to-day basis at our office in DC and San Francisco. But it's absolutely meaningless without each and every one of you sitting out here and the work that you guys do on college campuses. Our work is only as strong as our chapters, and I think that the quality of the activists here, the quality of the activists that we saw in November at the University of Maryland at our 10th National Conference really shows what a truly strong movement and a strong organization that SSDP is, not just in drug policy reform, but I would say that SSDP is probably the strongest, the best organized, and the most successful student organization, at the very least single-issue student organization in the country on any issue. I don't know any other organization that has as many national staff members as we do. I don't know any national organization that works on a single, other than United States Student Association, which handles everything. I don't know any national organization that's as narrowly focused as SSDP, that has as many chapters and as many student activists, that's achieved as many legislative victories at the state level, at the campus level, at the city level, that SSDP has. And that's not because of us at the national office, that's because of all of you sitting out here, and everybody in the chapters, everybody sitting at the conference this weekend in Ann Arbor, Michigan, everyone who's going to be at the conference in a few weeks in Berkeley, California. It's because of you guys. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to be a little bit reflective in this speech here, similar to how Ethan started out. Ethan gave a really great, I think, history of the drug policy reform movement, and I was originally going to do some of that, but I'm going to skip that kind of stuff because I think he handled all of it. But I want to talk a little bit about the history of SSDP and where we've been as a movement, where we've been as an organization, and where I think we're going in the near future. As many of you in this room know, I've been involved with SSDP from the very beginning. Back in 1998 at American University as a backbencher, so to speak. I was a junior member of the chapter, started by Mark Brandel and Troy Dayton, who are both still involved in drug policy reform professionally to one degree or another. Back at that point, 11 years ago now, student activism on drug policy was really limited just to NORML, which, while a wonderful organization, I actually worked for their national office for a number of years. They deal only with marijuana issues. There was no student organization, or there was no organization, period, that gave a voice to students to work on the war on drugs as a whole. It just so happened that same year, in 1998, President Clinton signed the Higher Education Act reauthorization of '98, which included a provision that denied federal financial aid to any student with drug conviction, the HEA aid elimination penalty, as we now call it. This one signature by a Democratic president probably did more to mobilize and energize a new generation of young people, of young activists, than any other single event, probably in the history of the war on drugs. Because it was really the first time that the federal government instituted a law that directly targeted our generation, directly targeted young people. And so it mobilized and it energized young people to get involved in ending the war on drugs, particularly these policies which directly targeted us as youth. So this pioneering group of young students from across the country who were really angry and really motivated started talking to one another. And they started using this, this really revolutionary new form of communication we called email. And it was, it shows how far we've come really just in the last 11 years. But this was relatively new. This was the first time that activists from all across the country could talk to each other in real time, could organize in real time. There was no freeconferencecall.com or stuff back then. Conference calls were difficult to organize, and you had to get together physically to meet. Well, now we can email, and so there were basically students at 5 universities, trying to remember all of them. It was Rochester Institute of Technology, Ohio University, American University, George Washington University, and University of Wisconsin. Those were the sort of inaugural 5 SSDP chapters.